There are rare artists who do not simply write songs to entertain us, but rather write the soul of an entire generation into existence. They capture the weight of passing years, the nostalgia of forgotten mountain roads, the fire of social justice, and the quiet beauty of ordinary human lives. On the 6th of August, 2026, Europe lost one of its most profound literary voices, and music lost a true titan. Francesco Guccini, the iconic Italian singer-songwriter, author, poet and actor, passed away peacefully at his home in Pavana, in the Tuscan-Emilian Apennines, at the age of 86. For nearly 6 decades, Guccini stood as an intellectual colossus in Italian culture. With his deep, gravelly voice, his acoustic guitar and lyrics, layered with references to classic literature, philosophy and history, he elevated popular music into enduring modern poetry. His legendary songs were not merely played on radios, they were studied in Italian university classrooms, debated in taverns, memorized by generations, and passed down like cherished family heirlooms. When news of his passing was announced by his family, an outpouring of grief and tribute surged across Italy and the global music community. Leaders, fellow musicians, literary figures, and millions of fans united to honor a man often described as the storyteller of everyday life. Who was Francesco Guccini beyond the stage lights and his famous dark parka? How did a boy raised in the shadow of World War II grow up to challenge political establishments and redefine European songwriting? And what is the complete story behind his final days, his family life, his acting career, and his immortal legacy? Today on Your Star Facts, we honor the extraordinary journey, the timeless music, the family story, and the unforgettable legacy of Francesco Guccini. The breaking news, his final moments in Pavana. On the 6th of August 2026, international news agencies and Italian cultural institutions formally announced the death of Francesco Guccini at the age of 86. According to an official statement released by his family, Guccini passed away quietly from natural causes at his residence in Sambuca Pistoiese in his beloved mountain village of Pavana. He was surrounded in his final hours by his loving wife, Raffaella Zuccari, his daughter, Teresa, and his close inner circle. Local authorities confirmed that a private family funeral service would be held in Pavana, honoring Guccini's lifelong request for modesty and privacy, to be followed by a public cultural memorial ceremony planned for September in Bologna to allow his vast community of listeners to pay their respects. Tributes immediately flooded in from across the cultural spectrum. Fellow Italian songwriting icons praised him as a singer of thoughts rather than simple stories, while literary scholars remembered him as a modern troubadour who proved that words still carry the power to move society. Early life, war, and Apennine roots. Francesco Guccini was born on the 14th of June 1940 in Modena, Italy, just 4 days after Italy officially entered the Second World War. Shortly after his birth, his father Ferruccio was called into military service, eventually becoming a prisoner of war in a German interned military camp. Faced with the perils of wartime, young Francesco and his mother Esther relocated to live with his paternal grandparents in Pavana, a small village nestled in the Tuscan-Emilian Apennines. That rugged, quiet mountain landscape, filled with old watermills, ancient trees, country roads and traditional stories, deeply shaped Guccini's artistic sensibility. The Apennines would remain his spiritual sanctuary and the primary thematic wellspring for his songwriting throughout his life. Following the war, his father returned home and the family resettled in Modena. During his teenage years, Guccini attended the same school as future opera legend Luciano Pavarotti. Guccini developed an early passion for literature and music, teaching himself the acoustic guitar while listening to American rock and roll and folk icons like Bob Dylan, as well as European chansonniers. After completing his military service, Guccini worked briefly as a reporter for a local newspaper and as an English teacher, while continuing to write songs in secret. The music career. From folkbeat to Radici. Guccini's entry into the professional music world happened behind the scenes. In the mid-1960s, he gained national attention as a songwriter for iconic Italian beat bands like Equipe 84 and Nomadi. He penned monumental anthems such as Auschwitz, a haunting meditation on wartime tragedy, and Dio e Morto, a provocative song about generational disillusionment that was initially banned from state radio before being played on Vatican radio for its moral clarity. In 1967, Guccini released his solo debut album, Folkbeat No. 1. However, it was his 1972 masterwork, Radici, that solidified his position as a major solo artist. Centered on the search for human origins and personal identity, the album featured signature classics like Incontro, Piccola Città, and La Locomotiva, an epic narrative about a 19th-century anarchist train driver that became one of the most famous political folk songs in Italian history. In 1976, Guccini achieved massive commercial success with his album Via Paolo Fabri 43, named after his longtime residence in Bologna. The record included La Valenata, a fiery, witty response to music critics that became a generational anthem for authenticity. Across 16 studio albums and decades of live performances, Guccini's primary instrument was always his acoustic guitar, accompanied by his expressive, resonant voice and an uncanny ability to turn concert stages into intimate tavern storytelling sessions. Acting career and literary legacy. While music was his primary canvas, Guccini was a polymath who excelled across multiple creative mediums. In the film world, Guccini cultivated a respected career as a character actor and soundtrack contributor. He appeared in notable Italian films, including Luciano Ligabue's 1998 directorial debut Radio Freccia, where he delivered a memorable performance as Adolfo, an old-school bar owner who serves as a moral compass for local youth. He also appeared in several popular comedies directed by Leonardo Pieraccioni, such as Ti amo in tutte le lingue del mondo, demonstrating a dry, self-deprecating comedic timing. Beyond cinema, Guccini was a prolific author. He published numerous autobiographical works, historical mysteries, and hard-boiled detective novels set in his native Apennines. He was also a passionate lexicographer and dialectologist, dedicated to preserving traditional regional dialects and folklore through his books and comics. His literary impact was so profound that lines from his songs were included in Italian national educational curricula, and in 1997, astronomers honored him by naming asteroid 39748 Guccini in his honor. Family, relationships, and personal life. Behind his public persona as a cultural icon, Guccini maintained a deeply grounded personal life, rooted in friendship, hospitality, and family. In his early adulthood, Guccini was married to Roberta Bacciglieri, a relationship that inspired some of his most tender early love songs, including Vedi Cara. Following their divorce, he shared a long partnership with Angela, with whom he welcomed his daughter, Teresa Guccini, in 1978. Teresa remained a central joy in his life, and he famously dedicated the beloved 1987-song Culo Dritto to her during her childhood. In his later years, Guccini reconnected with nature and peace in Pavana. In 2011, after 15 years together, he married Raffaella Zuccari, a literary scholar and teacher. Raffaella remained his steadfast companion, managing his affairs and walking beside him through his retirement years until his passing. Net worth and cultural impact. While commercial metrics never drove Guccini's artistic decisions, he famously rejected flashy mainstream pop trends and corporate commercialization. His decades of successful album sales, sold-out arena tours, book royalties, and film appearances allowed him to build a comfortable financial foundation. Industry estimates place his career financial legacy in the multi-million-dollar range, comprising music, publishing catalogs, literary rights, and property holdings in Bologna and Pavana. However, Guccini always maintained that true wealth had nothing to do with bank accounts or gold records. His real fortune lay in the affection of millions of listeners who found solace, courage, and truth in his words across 6 decades. Lessons and enduring legacy. The life of Francesco Guccini offers timeless lessons for artists and dreamers across the globe. First, honor your roots. Guccini demonstrated that no matter how far you travel or how famous you become, staying connected to your origins gives your life and work depth and authenticity. Second, respect the power of language. He showed that words carry real moral weight, and that speaking truth through art can inspire social progress and comfort grieving hearts. And third, live with integrity. Guccini retired from touring on his own terms when he felt he had said everything he needed to say on stage, choosing peace and nature over continuous commercial pursuit. Final tribute: a quiet farewell to the maestro. Francesco Guccini was taken from us at the age of 86, but the songs he gave the world will echo through history for generations to come. He was a devoted husband, a loving father, a master songwriter, a gifted actor, and an unforgettable voice of truth and humanity. Rest in peace, Maestro Guccini. Your songs will sing time forever. What was your favorite song, book, or memory from Francesco Guccini's incredible life? Please share your respectful thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Your Star Facts.